Remember that screeching, grinding sound that practically yelled, "This is going to suck"? Welcome to dial-up internet, the 90s torture device disguised as innovation. If you've ever screamed at a JPEG or been kicked offline because your mom needed the phone, congratulations, you're a survivor. This isn't just nostalgia, it's digital PTSD, and we're going back in. In the 1990s, the internet was exploding. Thanks to Tim Berners-Lee, who invented the World Wide Web in 1989, anyone with a modem could surf a clunky version of today's internet. But there was one small catch. You had to access it through a phone line. No Wi-Fi, no fiber, just a box called a modem that screamed into the void and took 5 minutes to load a page. If you were born after 2000, that sounds like science fiction. If you were born before 1990, it sounds like your childhood. Let's break down how the world got online and almost lost its mind doing it. Let's talk tech. It all started in the 1960s with ARPANET, a military network that connected computers using modems, basically machines that turned data into sound. By the 70s, modems hit 300 bits per second, slower than a snail mailing a letter. In 1978, two nerds in Chicago built the first bulletin board system, letting geeks swap messages over phone lines. Fast forward to the 90s, and 56K modems promised speed but delivered screams. Dial-up used your landline, yes, landline, to make a call to your internet service provider. Your modem would convert digital data into sound, transmit that sound through copper wires, and then a modem on the other side would decode it, which sounds clever until you remember it worked at a blazing 56 kilobits per second. That's 0.056 Mbps. To put that in perspective, a single image could take 2 to 3 minutes to load, a web page, 5 to 10 minutes easy. Video? No. Why so slow? Modems turn digital data into audio signals sent over copper phone lines. That screeching handshake, two modems arguing over speed and error correction, capped at 53K by physics and pesky FCC rules. Real speed? More like 30K on a good day. Even better, you couldn't use the phone and the internet at the same time. If someone picked up the phone, it didn't just cut you off. It deleted your download and your will to live. The connection handshake itself, those signature screeches and robotic wheezes, wasn't just random noise. It was two modems negotiating the best speed they could manage. Each squeal a desperate plea for data. And forget about multitasking. Streaming music, try streaming one MIDI note at a time. Video conferencing, you were lucky to get a live chat room to load without crashing Netscape. And then there was setup hell. You had to install drivers, run configuration wizards, and type in arcane dial-up numbers that changed if you moved zip codes. One wrong keystroke and you were back to playing Minesweeper offline. In the US, the biggest player was AOL, America Online. AOL mailed over 1 billion CDs, clogging landfills and modems alike. At one point, they spent $300 million just distributing them. Once you got online, you were greeted with the most iconic phrase of the decade.
Welcome. You've got mail.
And from there, chat rooms, forums, terrible screen names, and chaotic conversations full of ASL, that's age, sex, location for the blissfully unaware, your screen name was probably something like Skaterboy92 or Angelfire Queen 17. The internet wasn't fast, but it was alive. Until your dad picked up the phone, then it was dead. And then there was CompuServe, Prodigy, Earthlink, each trying to out-innovate AOL. CompuServe, an early pioneer, got swallowed by AOL in a $250 million deal in 1998. Prodigy pushed early e-commerce features like online shopping long before Amazon dominated. Earthlink partnered with Apple and Sprint, aiming for mass appeal, but dial-up's limitations eventually caught up with them. Early internet portals were like curated walled gardens. You didn't just type in a URL, you navigated through endless menus, categories, and text blocks before you found something vaguely useful. And once you got there, it was usually a message board about cats or Star Trek. And don't forget those early banner ads. Gaudy, blinking monstrosities that took forever to load and crashed your browser if you clicked too fast. It was like the Vegas Strip had a baby with MS Paint.
Dial-up didn't just shape the web, it shaped us. It created a generation that learned patience through pixelated pain,
You wanted to download a song, maybe Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit? Good luck. A 3 MB MP3 could take 6 hours on Napster, and half the time it was mislabeled or a Trojan horse in disguise. It was either a virus or a low-quality remix uploaded by someone with no soul. You wanted to visit a webpage, like a neon-soaked GeoCities shrine to your favorite boy band? Hope your phone line stayed quiet, or you'd lose it all halfway through loading the second GIF. You wanted to watch a video? Lol, no. Dial-up users didn't watch video. They stared at thumbnails and imagined what the video might have been like. Every login was a gamble, like rolling digital dice to see if you'd actually get to read that email or just hear the sound of failure on loop. Even email felt sacred. You didn't get 50 spam messages a day. One email could make your whole week. And forget updates or patches. Software came on CD-ROMs, and if you wanted the latest version, you either waited 6 months for a magazine cover disc or tried downloading 40 megabytes over a weekend with 3 backup phone lines. It was slow, glitchy, fragile, and somehow magical. Because back then, just being online was the thrill. So how did we escape this madness? 2 words: broadband internet. Around 2000, DSL and cable internet arrived like a knight in shining Ethernet. By 2005, broadband had reached over 50% of US households, up from just 10% in 2000. It was fast, reliable, and didn't scream at you. It didn't need to use the phone line, it was always on. And it was fast. AOL at its peak in 2000 had over 25 million subscribers. But by 2010, it had collapsed. The dial-up empire had crumbled under the weight of YouTube. Launched in 2005, streaming services, and the simple human need to make a phone call without triggering a family crisis. Cable and DSL didn't just beat dial-up, they destroyed it. No more CDs, no more screeching, no more watching a page load line by line like an emotional breakdown in progress. But here's the thing, dial-up mattered. It was the first step for millions. It taught people how to explore, how to chat, how to build janky GeoCities pages with neon text and autoplay MIDI files. It was the training wheels for the internet we live in now. It also birthed an entire era of digital DIY culture. People coded HTML in Notepad, hosted pages on AngelFire, and downloaded fonts like they were treasures. It wasn't smooth, but it was personal. And let's be honest, it's the reason most of us can troubleshoot Wi-Fi better than our parents today. We grew up fixing the internet every time it coughed. Even though it's gone, dial-up left a deep digital footprint. It created online culture before the culture knew what it was. It birthed memes, slang, forums, digital friendships, and more than a few therapy bills. That screeching handshake sound is now internet lore. A meme, a relic, a trigger. You can play it today and watch an entire generation flinch like a war flashback. It was absurd, it was awful, it was unforgettable. Even games were impacted. Early online multiplayer on dial-up meant lag so bad your character might move 5 seconds after you clicked. Quake, EverQuest, Ultima Online. If you played them, you lived in slow motion. And yet, it was the spark. It was where digital life began. From screaming modems to screaming memes, dial-up was the messy, noisy, glorious beginning. That was dial-up, the digital equivalent of a medieval torture rack that somehow led us to memes, YouTube, and cat videos. Did dial-up ruin your life too? Comment your worst modem story below. Subscribe for more tales of tech nightmares, digital archaeology, and the stuff we barely survived. And hey, if you ever hear that sound again, run.